Good morning. Before I make my statement, I would like to state clearly and succinctly that we need all organizations and individuals around the state of Georgia to double down and make sure voters understand the new law impacting voting, Senate Bill 202, because as terrible and suppressive as it is still the law. We cannot afford to lose the gains that we are making. So, until we have changed the new law, we must understand the new law. I want to thank God, for it is by His grace that I can stand here today at our state capitol after what has felt like the longest 2 weeks of my life, free from the threat of 8 years in prison for simply doing my job. Thank you, District Attorney Fani Willis and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and staff for the thorough and complete investigation of the facts that you performed that led to the dismissal of the felony charges that I faced. But today, I have come to tell the world it is time to lean in. The joy that I feel for the dismissal of the charges I faced is tempered by the fact that I should have never been arrested in the first place. 2 weeks ago today, Brian Kemp sat in his office, surrounded by a group of good old boys, and signed into law one of the most racist pieces of legislation in my lifetime. To emphasize the weight of this act, they strategically positioned themselves under a disgraceful painting of a southern plantation, as if to remind the world its commitment and their commitment to apartheid. This very act was equivalent to taking a noose and placing it not around just one Black or brown Georgian, but taking nooses and simultaneously placing them around 5 million Black and brown voters and lynching us all at the same time with one stroke of a pen. Looking back over the events of that day, I realized the intentionality of Kemp and his lynchmen. With his pen in hand and his lynchmen by his side, positioned under a symbol of oppression, these Georgia lawmen posed for the camera as they took a bold step forward to take Georgia back to the days of Jim Crow. With one stroke of a pen, Brian Kemp began to dismantle everything Black people in America have achieved, earned, and worked for since arriving to the Savannah port. The display of white power and white privilege demonstrated by public servants is a personal affront to the lives and sacrifices of all of the women and men who have fought and who are fighting for our freedom. We should not sit quietly while white men behind closed doors work to preserve their white power and white privilege. We can't do it. I won't do it. And 2 weeks ago, I didn't do it. Shortly after 6:17 p.m., the session adjourned for the week. As most lawmakers rushed away to their cars to get home, a small group of 6 white lynchmen hung back and slipped into the governor's office. The Capitol was nearly empty. I received a text message that the governor was signing the voter suppression bill. And as I always do, as the secretary of the House Democratic Caucus, I reached out to a group of our lawmakers. I texted as many of them as I could. And I walked down to the governor's office because I wanted to be in the room. I walked down to the governor's office because as these men placed nooses around black and brown voters' necks, I wanted to be in the room. I wanted to be in the room as he pulled the lever and the spring on the floor that would cause the ropes to strangle and tighten on us, taking the life, the hope, and the dreams of black and brown voters. I wanted Kemp to have to look in my face and see the pain and disappointment, the contempt that I had for his insidious act of betrayal against Georgia voters, Georgia citizens. So I knocked on his door in my place of employment. I knocked on the door where my colleagues had gathered to do the very thing I wanted to do, albeit for different reasons. I too wanted to be in the room. So I knocked on the door. I was not disruptive, I was persistent. So I knocked on the door. I saw the faces of all of the families who showed up at the Capitol before the sunrise and after the sunset, voicing their concerns for all Georgia voters' rights. So I knocked on the door. I remembered many Georgians, allies, community members from other states, and realized it was time to protect the rights of all voters. So I knocked. I knocked on the door because I remembered all the lives we have lost because of racist elected officials who ignore our rights. So I knocked on the door so that Brian Kemp would have to see me and see all of those who I represent. So I knocked on the door. Today, I vow to you that I will keep knocking. And I ask you, Georgia, to keep knocking. America, keep knocking. All of the marginalized people, keep knocking. Keep knocking. Keep knocking. Keep knocking. I want to thank the thousands of people who have reached out to me to express your concerns, appreciation, and solidarity. Thank you for your cards, letters, texts, emails, social media posts, phone calls, and contributions. The outpouring of support has sustained me during what has been the most challenging period of my life. To the media, I thank you today for coming out. Keep knocking.
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 We stand with Park.
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 We stand with
We
Park.
said protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
We said protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
We said protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
We said protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
Protect black women.
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 Protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
We said protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
Protect the vote.
Stop voter suppression.
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 Repeal SB 202.
Repeal SB 202.
Repeal SB 202.
Repeal SB 202. So we really want to thank everybody that came out, the thousands upon thousands of people that reached out to Park Cannon, the activists that have been out here for now 31 days, all of the groups that have been dedicated to voting rights, and we are prepared to thank the Fulton County District Attorney for doing a thorough investigation of this case and determining that no charges would be pursued in this case. So this transitions us into a new position with the case. You know, I, as well as Representative David Dreyer and Michael Sterling, represent Park Cannon. We are going to review our next options in this case, and I would like David to step forward and kind of talk about what that looks like as we transition into the next steps of the legal actions.
Thank you, Attorney Griggs. I want to be clear that no reasonable person could have known that Representative Cannon's actions should subject her to detention. It was beyond the pale. Politely knocking on a door and being arrested for 2 felonies is beyond the pale. No reasonable person could have made a mistake like that to detain Representative Cannon. We are doing open records requests right now. Representative Cannon is currently undergoing medical care. We will get information and evaluate our next steps, but we do want to again thank DA Willis. Anyone could have seen that Representative Cannon's action should not have subjected her to arrest, but DA Willis completed her investigation, which was thorough, in less than 2 weeks. We appreciate that. And one final thing, Representative Cannon has gotten a lot of outpouring of support, but she's gotten a lot of threats as well, and we need your support. We need you to go to Representative Cannon's social media. Please contribute for things like security and her past legal cost before the dismissal of this action. Also sign up for Representative Cannon's newsletter. Please follow her on social media. Please go to her website. But at this point, we believe that Representative Cannon should not have been subject to arrest. No one could have made a mistake legitimately that resulted in her arrest, so we are pursuing our next actions.
And so at this time, if you have any questions, we're free to take questions.
What kind of legal options are available?
All options are on the table. We are still reviewing all of our potential causes of action, but all options are on the table.
Would that include suing Georgia State Patrol that arrested her? Or what
All parties involved should be forewarned that all options are on the table.
who does that include?
All parties involved.
You mentioned force was a concern for you all, that the use of force. He's still wearing an arm sling at this point. Is that one of the avenues that you all are exploring, a use of force case in this arrest?
Again, all possible reasonable causes of action are on the table, including illegal use of force and illegal arrest and illegal detention. All options are on the table.
Have you spoken with Representative Cannon about the fallout from Senate Bill 202 with the All-Star game leaving, calls for boycott? What does she make of the fallout and the aftermath?
We've had conversation. I don't want to get into attorney-client privilege, but publicly she's already stated that she is for corporate responsibility, and so she supports all methods of corporate responsibility.
Does she support the boycott against corporations that don't stand up against the Senate bill?
Well, currently she supports all forms of corporate responsibility, directly addressing the issue of the boycott. That's above us at this point. That's other groups that are doing that, but she supports corporate accountability. Any other questions? We just want to again thank all of the thousands upon thousands of Georgians, the millions of Americans that have been watching this saga. We thank you for your support. We also thank you for continuing to uplift Representative Cannon in your prayers, and also to continue to keep your eyes on Georgia. This is a new movement. We will be resolute as the old movement was in protecting all voting rights. We will not go backwards. There will be no Jim Crow 2.0. We will address it the same way the civil rights movement did. We are so proud of Park Cannon, and it goes now from Rosa to Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.